It's Jordan and welcome back to my channel. So I just finished the Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy, which is a collection of 10 novellas Cassandra Clare released last year. Originally, I wasn't gonna buy them as the ebook format. I was gonna wait until this fall when the whole bind-up came out. But then I started hearing people talk about it and the buzz going around, and I was starting to wonder if any of these novellas would impact my reading experience for Lady Midnight. So I just caved and went ahead and bought all 10 ebooks and spent the $30 when I could have pre-ordered the bind-up for $11. Now that hurt my soul just a little bit. So just a quick little disclaimer here. This will be a non-spoiler review on all 10 of the novellas. I'm going to just mention general points. I'm not going to go into any spoilery detail. So what you would find in a synopsis on Goodreads is basically the extent of what I'm going to mention about the actual story content. I will tell you though, if you have not finished City of Heavenly Fire and you have not finished The Infernal Devices yet, you are going to want to leave now because this will spoil you for everything. So Shadowhunter Academy is supposed to follow Simon as he tries to become a Shadowhunter. Now I never read the Bane Chronicles. I didn't really ever feel like they were necessary to the understanding of the story, so I kind of felt like that would be the same with these as well. However, now that I've read the Tales from Shadowhunter Academy, I am definitely going to go back and read the Bane Chronicles because you have to read the Shadowhunter Academy novellas. The information you learn in this series, all under the guise that it's focusing on Simon as he tries to ascend to become a Shadowhunter, is ridiculous. Cassandra Clare is a genius. If you are a fan of this world and these characters, you're going to want to read these novellas. Trust me, I could not imagine going into Lady Midnight without knowing the information that I got from reading these novellas. There are so many great conclusion stories that wrap up events in City of Heavenly Fire, as well as great setup stories that get us ready for Lady Midnight. Basically, this should just be a mandatory book in the series. Now I'm going to go ahead and get into my reviews of each of the novellas. These are just reviews, they are not discussions, so I'm not going to be spoiling any of the major plot points, but I am going to be mentioning characters' names and the general concept of each of the novellas, so if you don't want to know any of that, I would go ahead and leave now. I really enjoyed this as an introduction to the series of novellas. I thought it was a strong way to start off this new series. I absolutely loved being back with Simon and getting his perspective. It had all the sass and wit and charm and everything that you would expect from Simon. I also really enjoyed the new characters we were introduced to, especially Simon's roommate, George. He was my favorite, and we're already starting to see some connections and overlapping between the series and these characters as well, and it's only the first novella. So in this one, we pick up not long after the events of City of Heavenly Fire. Simon is struggling with the situation he's now facing and trying to reconcile who he was with who he is now. He's terrified of letting down and disappointing the people he cares about, so he's offered a chance to escape from all those worries and travel to Idris to train to become a Shadowhunter. This in itself is gold. I cannot wait to see what else unfolds for Simon at the Academy. Again, I really enjoyed this novella. I wish these were longer, especially something like this one. I just loved being back with these characters. I'm also really enjoying getting to know the new ones. And in this installment, we hear the true story of the Lost Herondale. I'm pretty sure at some point this story or character is mentioned in the Infernal Devices. The true story is absolutely sad and heartbreaking and gave me so many feels, but the outcome makes me even that more excited for what could possibly play out in the Dark Artifices. What is being transpired and what they're alluding to in this novella has to come to fruition at some point. Cassandra Clare knows how to give you all the feels in less than 100 pages. How? This installment filled me with all sorts of nostalgia. Basically, we get the most amazing scene of Jace trying to teach Simon how to climb a tree. Then we have Tessa come and visit the Academy to give the newbies a lesson in good old-fashioned cover-ups and how Shadowhunters do them. We get a flashback to 1888 and get to see a glimpse into the Infernal Devices crew post-Clockwork Princess, which was just amazing in all of its own ways because I so really miss reading about those characters that this little glimpse of post-Clockwork Princess, Jem, Will, and Tessa makes me so freaking excited for the last hours. I cannot even explain it to you. Again, ooh, what a great setup to the Last Hours trilogy. Who knew we were going to have so much setup for a series that doesn't even come out until 2017? In this novella, we're introduced to quite a number of the main characters from that series. We get to see James's first day at the academy, who is Will and Tessa's son, and he is precious. We also get to see a little bit of the characters from the Infernal Devices as parents, which blew my mind because we last saw them when they were like 17 years old and now they have children. It sheds a completely different light on them as people. So basically I had the most intense The Infernal Devices feels all over again. And we get to see Jem in this novella too. Jem comes to Shadowhunter Academy, and hearing him talk to Simon, he is just like the most sweet, loving kid I've ever read about. Jem just was one of those characters that just stole my feelings, and he did it again in this novella. With that being said, this is definitely a novella for those who are fans of TID and those characters, because it's gonna give you every one of those feels all over again. So this one was not my favorite of the bunch so far, but I think it sheds a very important light on the Robert and Alec relationship. In The Mortal Instruments, we see a lot of tension and a lot of animosity between those two characters, and this kind of brings to light why Robert treats Alec a certain way. It also firmly cemented my feelings that Robert is undeniably an asshole. Seems like that's a genetic trait in the Lightwood family. Yes, I'm looking at you, Benedict. I have been dying for a story on The Circle for a while now, but this wasn't really what I had in mind exactly. I didn't particularly enjoy reading from Robert's point of view because I don't like him all that much, but how incredibly ironic that he finds himself in a very similar situation with his parabatai that Alec and Jace find themselves in. And I must say, Jace handles the situation with infinite more grace than Robert did. Also, the situation going on between Simon and Izzy, this Sizzy relationship at this point, is crushing my soul. So this one I actually really enjoyed. At this point, we're on novella 6, and I've had so much fun being in Simon's head because he's so funny and so witty and is such a mundane, trying so hard to be a badass Shadowhunter, and I love it. This was another great setup for the Dark Artifices. There has always been an uneasy alliance between the Shadowhunters and the Fae, but with the Dark War and the Cold Peace, things are even more on edge than ever before. We're starting to see the beginnings of the prejudices of the Shadowhunters and discrimination of the Fae that I'm sure are going to be driving conflicts in the Dark Artifices. Honestly, I think this is a really important moment to see before going into reading Lady Midnight. Also, we cannot forget to mention Sizzy. Oh, beautiful Sizzy. Since the last novella, they are alive and thriving, and it was ridiculously satisfying to see. And finally, the confession at the very end of The Fairy was a harrowing insight into Andrew Blackthorne and that relationship. I wonder how that's going to influence any events that might unfold in the Dark Artifices. Again, another novella acting as a great bridge between TMI and TDA, and I love it. Although this one was not one of my favorites, I still think it's shedding light and insight into the political unease between the Fae and the Shadowhunters. Because the Dark Artifices opens 5 years following City of Heavenly Fire, these serve as a great starting point to launch that conflict, because this series of novellas is taking place only a year to 2 years after City of Heavenly Fire. So we're starting to see those events unfold. In true Simon fashion, he finds himself once again kidnapped, and this time he's taken into Fairyland during an exercise gone really wrong. While there, Simon runs into Mark Blackthorne, who we haven't really seen much of. It was nice to check in with him and see how this war and peace have been affecting him, who is part Fae and part Shadowhunter. That's a really unfortunate mix at this point. We also get another great glimpse of the main characters from TDA, and I just really love every little glimpse I get of them because it's making me already care about them before I've even gotten to really read about them. Okay, so if you are a huge fan of TMI and those characters, this is a novella you cannot miss. Clary comes to visit the academy to serve as a witness alongside Simon for a parabatai ceremony. And while she is there, her and Simon's relationship is put to the ultimate test, literally, and it was so satisfying to see and gave me so much nostalgia because I was feeling some feels that I didn't think I was going to get once City of Heavenly Fire concluded. This is the first time we actually see what it means to become a parabatai and the actual process and the involvement of that ceremony and making that bond. So that was really, really fun to learn about because we've seen so many parabatai relationships without actually knowing how those come into be. I'm not gonna lie though, I was thoroughly confused for a majority of this novella. The events that happen really make no sense. However, it is explained after the fact what is going on, so you don't finish the novella still feeling lost and confused. And finally, we have another great introduction and a great setup for Lady Midnight, and Julian Blackthorne is already breaking my heart. So this one was definitely my favorite of the novellas. I just had so many feels, all the Malik feels and the Clace feels and the Sissy feels, plus all the new character feels. It was just so perfect and made me so unendingly happy. Magnus comes to the academy as a guest lecturer, although I don't think he ever actually does any lecturing, and he is begrudgingly followed by the entire Lightwood clan. I loved the family and relationship dynamics in this. It brought together all of what I love from each of those individual relationships, and I'm so happy to see the paths all of my little babies are on, and just, oh man guys, oh man, all the feels. Now this was an extremely rewarding and horrifically heartbreaking conclusion to this novella bind-up. This was my second favorite of all the novellas, purely based on nostalgia. I have been waiting for the events in this novella to unfold for years now. It seemed impossible, like we were never going to get there, and finally we are here. There were also some tears shed and many whimpers, which are my version of tears. Fate of a certain character in the novella series absolutely broke my heart, and it totally caught me off guard. We also get a scene between Simon and Izzy that I have been dying for. It was so satisfying to finally see this scene. Thank you, Cassandra Clare. So all in all, these novellas were absolutely worth my time. I feel like I have a whole new knowledge of the new characters and the Dark Artifices and even the last hours, but I also got to fangirl over my love for all of the Mortal Instruments and For All Devices characters as well. I really hope that if you haven't read them yet, this persuades you to go ahead and pick them up. They're totally worth your time, and if you have read them, I would love to know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Tell me which one your favorite was. Mine was definitely the 9th novella with all the Malik feels. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I will talk to you very soon. Bye!